Hi there, everyone. I am back to read the rest of chapter 13. So we read a bit more of it earlier in the week, and now we are going to read even more. So, if you remember, the crows ran out into the street. They've just heard the news that Finn is in the Natural History Museum. So, the outer door of the Museum of Natural History was massive, but the crows were no longer the ill and feeble men they had been an hour ago. They were men of steel now, so they were close to success. They chiselled and they prized, they cursed and they sweated, and presently the hinges broken, so they were through. "Find the lights," ordered Trapwood. Mr. Lowe bumped into an anaconda, stumbled over a case of cotis, and found the switch. The whole world of the rainforest appeared before them. Coiled snakes, crouching monkeys, huge caimans with bared teeth. It all looked very different at night. He might be anywhere. They began to search. "Come on up, Tavener, we know you're there. Your time's up, boy, we won't hurt you. You'll be all right with us." They went on shouting and searching behind a case of capybaras, under a bench holding an aquarium of piranha fish, on top of a cupboard of pelts. Nothing. They went into the second room, and the third, and then up the stairs to grope among the throwing spears and the necklaces of teeth. Still nothing. Downstairs again into the professor's office and his lab. Nothing except an eerie skeleton on a metal stand. "Get the girl, the pigtail girl. We'll force her to tell us." "All right." Mr. Lowe made for the door. The yellow eyes of the snarling jaguar stared at Mr. Trapwood. He didn't much like the idea of being in the museum alone. "No, wait, I'll come with you. We may have to bring her by force." Miss Minton was behaving oddly. She'd taken no steps to follow the twins and had prevented Sergei from doing so. Instead, she was watching Maya, who was pretending to enjoy the party and not making a good job of it. Maya's colour was high. She was obviously upset, but Miss Minton did not go to her. She just watched. She had been watching now for several days. The children were not dancing any longer. They were falling onto the food. Maya did her best to eat. She'd never seen such exotic dishes, but she could hardly swallow anything. What was happening in the museum? Sergei had interrupted the twins before she could tell them about the trap door under the sloth. Poor Sergei, who'd only wanted to help and protect her, and who now looked at her, angry and bewildered, not enjoying his own party as he should. What was happening? Had they found Clovis yet? In the entrance hall there was a disturbance. One of the maids was arguing with the two grim-faced, black-clad men, who now pushed her aside. "We want the pigtail girl who lives with the Carters. Maya, she's called." They opened the door to various rooms while the servants tried to stop them, then the door of the dining room. The only pigtailed girl was a very small blonde sitting on the lap of her governess so that she could reach the table. Maya sat bent over her plate. She'd arranged her loose hair so as to partly hide her face, but it didn't help her. The crows knew her at once. "That's her, over there. You girl, you're to come with us." "No." Maya had risen and was holding on to the side of the table. "If you don't, we'll have to use force." Sergei got to his feet, prepared to do battle. Then a bony hand descended on Maya's shoulder. "I think you'd better go with these gentlemen and tell them what they want to know," said Miss Minton. She turned to the crows. "I shall, of course, accompany her." "No, Minty, please, I can manage by myself." "You must let me be the best judge of that. Come along, Maya." By the time they got to the museum, Maya did not have to act her panic. There was no chance to explain anything to her governess. If Miss Minton told the crows that Clovis was not Finn Tavener, all her work would be undone. If only there was a moment to explain before the trapdoor was opened. But there wasn't. "Right, now, where's the boy?" Maya was acting again. "Don't make me tell you. Please, he's my friend, and he begged me not to let you take him back." Miss Minton said nothing. She looked grimmer than Maya had ever seen her. There was no help to be expected there. Look, we've got no time to waste, and we've got a gun." Mr. Trapwood patted his chest. "Shoot me then," said Maya. "You can shoot me before I'll betray—" "That's enough, Maya. You're being hysterical. Tell these gentlemen what they want to know, then we shall go home." "I don't want Finn to—" "Finn, is that his name?" said Trapwood. "Yes, that sounds right. The letter was signed F. Tavener. Come on, then." "He's in the cellar." Maya's voice was very quiet. She turned her head away. "Where's that? How do I get down there?" "There's a trap door. It's under the giant sloth. The skeleton in the lab." The crows barged ahead, holding Maya by the arm, and Miss Minton followed. Still, no chance to warn her governess. They reached the sloth. "There, look, you can see the handle," said Mr. Lowe. Mr. Trapwood pushed him aside and caught the edge of the stand with his arm. The sloth crashed to the ground. Miss Minton and Maya cried out, seeing the jumbled bones. "There it is! Come on, heave!" Mr. Trapwood heaved. The door creaked slowly upwards, and out of the dark hole there sprang, not a cowering, frightened boy, but a furious, thrashing figure, a boy with black hair and a headband, who charged at the two men, shouting and gibbering in an Indian dialect. The crows tried to grab his arm and missed. The Indian boy ran past Mr. Lowe, but was tripped up by Mr. Trapwood and stumbled, cursing in his strange babble, screaming like a trapped animal. Maya gave a moan of despair and stood there, her hand over her mouth. What was Finn doing here? What had gone so terribly wrong, and where was Clovis? The crows wrestled with Finn, 2 to 1, a gun against bare fists, but as they fought the boy, trying to pinion him, they were aghast. So this was the heir to Westwood, a savage babbling away in an unearthly tongue. No wonder he'd been afraid to take up his rightful place in England. He probably lived in a tree. Maya's eyes never left Finn. He was still hoping to escape. She could see that. If he could get out into the street, he might have a chance, but not here. He fought like a demon. Once he managed to free himself, but Mr. Lowe caught his leg while Mr. Trapwood hit him on the side of the head with the butt of his pistol. Now, boy, we're not here to hurt you." But the wild boy didn't understand. He went on struggling and fighting and shouting in his ghastly tongue. They'd have to tie him up to get onto the boat. And what would Sir Aubrey say? If ever there was a hollow victory, this was it. Miss Minton, all this time, had been standing stock still, looking at the Indian boy with a strange expression on her face. Now she walked carefully to the edge of the open trapdoor and looked down the flight of steps leading into the darkness. Miss Minton waited. She was staring intently at the back of the cellar and the pile of packing cases. Then she said loudly and clearly, "Come out, Finn Tavener! Come out and be a man!" Among the packing cases something stirred. A glimmer of light fell on a fair hair. A boy straightened himself and stood up. Miss Minton continued to stare down into the murk. "You heard me, Finn," she said. The crows turned, amazed. "The mantle of the Taverners has fallen on your shoulders, and it's time you faced your destiny." Clovis looked up and saw the upright figure of Miss Minton standing above him. She'd always made him feel brave, and now he forgot that an hour before he'd been overcome with terror and begged Finn not to give him up to the crows. Clovis straightened himself, then squared his shoulders. He tossed back his curls, then slowly, with immense dignity, he climbed the cellar steps. "Unhand my servant, please," he ordered the crows. "As you see, I am Finn Tavener." The crows let go of the Indian. They stared at the golden-haired youth who had appeared at the top of the cellar steps. The boy's breeding showed in every movement. He was an undoubted and true aristocrat. Here before them was the blood which Sir Aubrey longed for, and they were filled with joy. The boy now addressed his servant. "You've served me well, Kumwari," he said, and every word was crystal clear, the words of a perfect English gentleman speaking slowly to a foreigner. "Now I give you your freedom, and with it this token of my thanks." And out of the pocket of his tunic he took a watch on a long chain, which he handed to the Indian. "But, sir," said Mr. Trapwood, who had seen the glint of silver, "should you—" "I am a taverner," said Clovis, "and no one shall say that I am not grateful to those who have served me. And now, gentlemen, I'm ready. I take it you've reserved a first-class cabin for me?" "Well," began Mr. Lowe. Mr. Trapwood kicked his shin. "It shall be arranged, sir," he said. "Everything will be taken care of." "Good. I should like to go on board immediately." "Yes, sir, of course, if you just come with us." Clovis bowed to Miss Minton and then to Maya. His eyes were dry and his dignity was matchless. Then he followed the crows out of the museum. That's it. Then we're on chapter 14. Don't know about you, but I panicked when it was Finn down there. I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened? But well played, Miss Minton. I like her more every single moment. So hope you enjoyed that, and I will be back next week with a bit more of the story. Okay, lots of love. Bye.